say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy.
You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because I think we might be like Trish. We want our podcast to get all the credit for being a podcast. It's probably not a popular choice to compare ourselves to Trish, but what can you do? My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com. as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panels and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, via Google Play, and now on Spotify to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including but not limited to Fuller House, Westworld, The Good Place, Arrested Development, Jane the Virgin, Schitt's Creek, Doctor Who, Supernatural, and Orange is the New Black. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, iZombie, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 13 Reasons Why, The Crown, American Horror Story, Grace and Frankie. The DCTU series will tackle The Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the Star Trek 50+ series will chat the second season of The Next Generation. We'll be launching new panels covering the chilling adventures of Sabrina, Mr. Robot, Charmed, Outlander, the Breaking Bad universe, and This Is Us. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll put out some musical stops for A Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. We'll revisit one of the all-time and most-watched classic sitcoms in MASH, and we'll consider the moral implications and quick cancellation of Dollhouse. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers and comedy shows and Comic-Cons, and we went live last spring from Blue Bridge Games to take a shiny look back at Firefly. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff. It's true. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes Apple channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play, as well as on Spotify. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, just don't hurl us across a room like Jessica might. How about we split a bourbon and share some feelings? If you experience difficulty expressing the feelings, that's why we'll have the bourbon. You can be as sarcastic as you wish. We always are. Today we're around the water cooler as a final convention of our Marvel's Defenders podcast series. The series formerly did not have a fixed number of episodes like other series we do. Rather, it had been ongoing, given the fact that streaming service Netflix created various series with the aim of combining all of the protagonists into a crossover miniseries called The Defenders. Except, in the last year, Netflix has proceeded to cancel all of these series, putting this panel's ongoing, non-fixed days into the decidedly not ongoing and much more fixed column. With that said, welcome to the 14th and final episode, for now, of our Marvel's Defenders panel. In this series, we have already discussed seasons 1 through 3 of Daredevil, seasons 1 and 2 of Jessica Jones, seasons 1 and 2 of Luke Cage, seasons 1 and 2 of Iron Fist, seasons 1 and 2 of The Punisher, and the only season of The Defenders. Today, we're discussing season 3, the final season of Jessica Jones, which was released in its entirety to the Netflix streaming library on June 14th, 2019, with a total of 13 episodes, which means, for the record, that the show is legally available to Netflix subscribers exclusively, as it is Netflix-produced original content. Marvel's Jessica Jones, or simply Jessica Jones, is an American web television series created for Netflix by Melissa Rosenberg, based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. It is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sharing continuity with the films of the franchise, and is the second in a series of shows that led to the Defenders crossover miniseries. The series is produced by Marvel Television in association with ABC Studios and Tall Girls Productions, with Rosenberg serving as showrunner. Kristen Ritter stars as Jessica Jones, a former superhero who opens her own detective agency. Rachel Taylor, Ika Darville, and Carrie Ann Moss also star, with Benjamin Walker, Sarita Chowdhury, Jeremy Bobb, and Tiffany Mack back, joining for the 3rd season. Following the tragic end of her brief superhero career, Jessica Jones tries to rebuild her life as a private investigator, dealing with cases involving people with remarkable abilities in New York City. In the 3rd season, Jessica faces off against an enemy who is determined to prove that she is a fraud. Today, in the 14th and final episode of our Marvel's Defenders series, we will be focusing specifically upon Jessica Jones Season 3 with our Defenders panel, all of whom should be familiar to anyone who's listened to the previous chapters in this series, namely Kristen, Nick, Kyle, Hillary, and Spencer. We will also be reflecting on this universe that was, and will bid it a fond or not so fond farewell, depending upon each panelist's perspective. Because I think the panel is ready to put this panel to bed by discussing this latest solo Defender season and reflecting sadly upon its subsequent cancellation, I want to remind listeners that all of our panelists have viewed all seasons of all Defender solo series and the crossover miniseries to date and may discuss sensitive plot points from any or all of them. So for those of you who haven't watched Jessica Jones or any of the Defenders properties, listen at your own risk as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Great.
Did I wet your whistle with that bourbon reference?
I really wish I had some right now.
Sorry. We'll get through it, though. Are you ready? Now, this is our last episode, guys.
Kind of sad.
I know. I mean, it's not too sad because they're all on the DC panel.
Yeah.
Together.
I mean,
On purpose.
it's not like we won't see each other again.
No.
Like,
Correct.
the end of this universe.
It is
Or
the
the
end of
pause
this
of this
universe. Or the what?
The
pause
pause. I
of
think
this
I think
universe.
pause is right.
Okay. Yes. I hope so.
Potentially.
I hope so. One is wishing. But we can't pause until we actually bid this one goodbye for now. So what I'm going to do, we're going to talk about Jessica Jones Season 3. And of course, I'm going to gauge your temperature along the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. We had some spicy thoughts about Season 2. If you listen to that episode, and I highly recommend you do, listener, they were all over the place. And there was a bird involved. Do you remember the bird?
That was the bird episode?
That was the bird episode.
Yeah, we were in like Spencer's
yeah,
3-season.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
right. There was the bird outside that was just real happy to be there.
Yeah, had a lot of opinions
It was
about
a very
Jessica
beautiful
Jones.
day, though.
It was a gorgeous day.
Another vantage point for you is that was a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And there's that Netflix book.
There's that Netflix bloat. So let's see how you're feeling about Jessica Jones following the 3rd and final season. Did you watch it because though it would be strong to say that you love it, as that is not who you are, you feel compelled to help people with the abilities you have and or to watch people with abilities like yours, even if you are slightly cynical, even misanthropic about the show or life like Jessica Jones? Did you watch it because it gave you a new perspective on life and made you want to clean up your act? You could also learn a lot from Jessica's mad sleuthing skills. The show, in some ways, provided your moral compass like Malcolm Ducasse. Did you watch it because you are secretly or not so secretly into Jessica and her whole hard on the outside, soft and squishy on the inside, trying to be a hero despite how much she disliked it personal manner, even if the show's darkness sometimes gives you a headache, like Eric Geldin, who is Mindwave in the comics? Did you watch it because you're a woman in a man's world and you want it all? Plus, Jessica got under your skin and you're willing to do anything, as calculating as you are, to ensure that your and the show's legacy endured, like Jerry Hogarth. Did you like the show at first, but struggled with the selfishness of most of its characters, particularly Jerry, and so gave up by the end for your own peace of mind, like Kith Lyon? Did you watch the show mostly for the attractive people, like Malcolm, and the smart and sassy dialogue, even though you abhor the mere concept of vigilante justice, preferring the imperfect and flawed legal system to address society's ills, regardless of the underlying messages of the show, and or the fact that sometimes due process protects bad people, like Zaya Okonjo? Did you watch it because your best friend and or adopted sister watched it, and you wanted to be just like and or are jealous of her, Jessica, that is, as it turns out. In fact, you're so blind to your jealousy and your need for control, you watched the show just to badmouth it because you thought you knew more or better than anyone else who made it or might watch it, like Trish Walker, also possibly known as Hellcat, although it was never said in the show, but it was in the title. That's okay. You hate the show because you think it's a fraud and vastly overrated, but you have an obsessive need to see its truth, even if those who made the show can't, like Gregory Salinger, also known as Fool Killer in the comics. Or you don't watch this show or don't watch it anymore because you A, are off trying to be a superhero yourself, like Luke Cage, B, are merely a figment of someone's traumatized imagination, like Kilgrave, but is he though? C, were manipulated into murdering your boyfriend by the mark you stole from like Inez Green. D, decided not to compete with the show anymore, happily and resolutely choosing to watch other things like Price Chang. Or E, recognize that your relationship to the show and the character just fell apart like Oscar Orocho. Or finally F, spoiler, died like Elisa Jones. Who would like to start?
I'm Nick.
Hi, Nick!
And I settled on Eric, because I still like the character. This season was better than season 2, but there were still things that gave me a headache. Done.
Okay, last time you were Price Chang because I forced you to watch it.
I don't even remember who that is.
He was the guy that was trying to take Jessica's business.
Oh.
Yeah, the other investigator that she beat the crap out of.
Yeah.
And then he cried like a little
You
baby.
don't remember though because it's garbage.
But the basic description was you watched it because you were trying to compete and or because your podcast producer forced you to watch it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Welcome back, Nick.
Thanks.
I'm Heinz 57. I'm Spencer for starters. But
Hi,
I figure anybody that's listening to these know that the English accent belongs to me.
I don't understand Heinz.
Heinz 57. I'm a little bit of
Token Brit.
all of those descriptions.
Even the one with sub
there's-
descriptions?
Yes, I'm a little bit of every single bit.
Yeah.
Breaking the rules again.
Yes. And since it's the final one, I'm going whole hog.
Boy.
It was very, very hard to start watching season 3 because of how bad season 2 was. There was some redemption to season 3, so there's little bits of all of those in there.
Last time you were thankfully only one character, which was Elisa Jones.
This time I'm all of them.
I see.
Enjoy.
How contrary.
What a buffet of delights.
Welcome back, Heinz 57 Spencer.
I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
I'm the big Jessica Jones fangirl on the panel here, and I've never, ever, in all of my multiple character choosing, have ever chosen all of them like Spencer.
So she's
I
calling
limit
shenanigans.
myself. I limit myself to at least 3.
I'm declaring victory.
Sure. Take it where you can, I guess.
Exactly.
So,
Nice.
Last minute spices. Last minute spices.
last minute spices. So last time
how you
I was
throw it
Elisa, which is Jessica's mother. I don't remember what the description is, but I remember that I did not like season 2.
That you were well, you liked it better than everybody else.
I did. I still will, but it still, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't the best.
You were protective of the show and
Yes.
you were protective of the character, but there were things that
I didn't like.
you didn't like.
Yep, and that was true. Season 2 kind of sucked. But season 3, hard to watch, like Spencer. That's why I wanted to follow him. It took me until last week to start watching, even though it came out last June. I was really hesitant. I was very scared that it was going to be even worse than season 2, and I didn't think it was. So, because this is the last one, and because this was my favorite Defenders show, I'm just going to go for it and say that I'm Jessica and Malcolm and Eric. Because I never go more than 3, Spencer.
But still does 3.
But I still do 3.
But it's right.
I still love the show.
Is it because you can't count to more than 3?
You know what?
Spices.
I'm not even going to
There's
validate
too much
that.
cayenne
You just
Let
did,
her
but
get
not.
you.
I know. That's fine. 3's the magic number, so it's fine.
Oh.
Because you were starting to say you love the show.
I love the show because so I'm Jessica because I love the show and it's still my favorite, and I love the noir theme to it because I love those kind of things. Malcolm because I really like Jessica's mad sleuthing skills. And Eric, because I will agree with Nick, there were some things that did get a little tedious where I wasn't fully paying attention when I was watching, especially towards the back half of the season when things kind of got just a little repetitive, especially with Hellcat. So that's my 3.
Welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you.
I am Hillary.
Hi, Hillary.
Husband's gonna talk in a minute. You're already talking, and you're my sister, the moderator.
True.
And I'm having so many conflictions about this season. I'm kind of gonna go like copying between Kristen and Spencer. Like I'm having like one time on Gotham where I had like verbal diarrhea and I just couldn't.
Stream of consciousness characters tonight.
I have lots of feelings about it. I have all the different emotions he was talking about. I do like Jessica for the most part as a character. I agree with Malcolm in the mad sleuthing skills. I think that's one of the more enjoyable aspects to watch is when she's actually
That should
doing
be the name
those
of the
things.
spin-off, Malcolm and the Mad Sleuthing Skills.
Yeah.
Or a band.
But I do agree that there are aspects of it that, I mean, I understand where they had progressed at that point, but I still think that they had opportunity to probably make it stronger. I still think that it landed at a good spot for it being the last season. There's too many emotions to settle on just one or two characters this time. Sorry.
I did it.
So what did you land
That's
on?
just because that's what you do. You just pick one and you say, I'm done.
So what did you say? You said Jessica and Malcolm? No?
Sure, and then sprinkles of the others, like Spencer said, just because there's too
There's
many
just no
feelings.
rules anymore.
I know! It's anarchy!
There are no rules.
What is this?
That's what Jessica does to people.
Yeah.
Last time you did copy Spencer, his verbatim answer, because he started off as Price, like feeling like he was Price toward the end, but then he settled on Elisa because that was more accurate, but you had answered in the middle, so then you just copied what he said.
Because it was so bad. And then he made a valid point, so I was like, that. And I'm done. We'll talk about it more in a minute.
Are you sure? Welcome back, Hillary.
I promise I'll talk more about it in a minute.
I know.
I'm Kyle, Hillary's husband.
Hi, Kyle, Hillary's
Just
husband.
establish that.
And
Let's just say before singing.
He wants to
Yeah.
establish it too.
He was helping you out.
It's just a joke.
They might have forgotten.
He's fully validating your claim.
I know, we have streamed. So, Kyle, Hillary's husband, tell us.
I'm going to settle on Kith. I liked the show at first, but struggled with the selfishness of most of the main characters, particularly Jerry. Mostly because any of the Jerry storyline I could not stand at all. And it's just so weird, like, she's such a different character on Iron Fist, and, like, she already had her redemption arc, and then they just make her so unlikable and unbearable that it's hard to watch, and it's not fun to watch. So
I just thought she was being a regular lawyer.
that's probably...
Last time you were also Elisa, so technically you would have slipped a little bit.
I still like Jessica Jones, and I like the characters, but yeah, there are issues with this season. It's definitely better than the second, but I felt very meh about this season. I like Jessica, everything else, side characters I didn't care for. Or the villain.
Welcome back, Kyle. And of course, my name is Kylie. I both moderate and participate on this long-running panel. Last time I was waffling between Elisa and Price. I mean, I wrote the character breakdown. They just said what made sense about it. This time, I would be a mix of two. I would be Eric. I like Jessica a lot. I like the character a lot, but the show did give me a headache at times. And I would be Kith. I agree with Kyle's description almost verbatim. I absolutely hated the Jerry storyline and the character at this point. I love Carrie Ann Moss. I hate the character. And Trish was also extremely selfish. She's been selfish for like 2.5 seasons now, and I don't know that anything in this season redeemed her, and we're going to talk about that.
No, how? Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk about, Nick. So we're all back together one final time to discuss. It's a little, I don't know how you feel. I feel a little disappointed that this is the last season of
This is how you scheduled it.
But this is how they released it.
Yeah.
And this happens to be the last one. So tell me, what did you like, what didn't you like, and talk about your general feelings of Jessica Jones and the grand scheme of the Defenders.
It went back to the noir theme, and I was really, really happy. I missed it in season 2, and I think that's part of the reason I didn't enjoy it as much, along with some other
So I'll
questionable
throw
plot
out one of my
choices.
patented analogies.
Oh, way to interrupt.
So-
me.
It's
Fine.
about catching up.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done, Karen.
No, but go ahead. I'm waiting.
Okay. I'm going to grade the 3 seasons of Jessica Jones based on toilets. So season 1 is the ensuite bathroom in a 5-star hotel. It was fantastic, and it's what brought us all really very happily into this universe.
Thank you, David Tennant.
Season 2 was a rustic campground toilet that hasn't been emptied in about 15 years. It was fetid and disgusting. And season 3 was like a Motel 6 that's just been built. It's average, but it's definitely better than the campground. And that's how I feel about the Jessica Jones 3 seasons.
Kristen, you were saying.
I was just saying, like, I let him interrupt me for that.
This is going to be the Kristen and Spencer show. I can feel it.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, I did
attacked.
actually think you were done.
Sure. Yeah. Keep telling yourself that. No, I love, one thing that really drew me to Jessica Jones in season 1 was the noir theme. I really am drawn to that kind of genre. I love those kinds of movies and books and what have you. So having that also with being just this badass detective is like, yes, I'm in it. And then season 2 was a shit show. Season 3 got way better. I was really happy. It seemed like it was. Question. Did they know that this was going to be the last season
Yes.
when they were writing?
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
that makes sense, because it seems like they really took the best of what they could with where they had the plot established to not only try to bring back some of its season 1 glory, but to also finish it off really well. And I felt that the ending in particular sealed it really nice, but it left it open on the off chance of either she's going to go off and do more adventures that we can imagine her doing, or if they ever bring her back, she's at a good launching point for whatever story they're going to fill in. The only thing I didn't understand was why they just brought Luke Cage back for a mini cameo.
Yeah.
That felt weird.
It was also underwhelming.
It was very underwhelming. He was just standing there in a suit.
Yeah.
I actually think we're lucky we got him, because by that time, Evil was in production.
Yeah.
So
I actually don't think it added anything. I
It
wasn't
didn't.
even excited
It
to
didn't
see
add a
it.
single
anything
thing.
though.
I
It was only because of their history that I think it had any kind of relevance.
I get what you're gonna say, because you're gonna say you still well, she reacted to it, and I mean there wasn't a ton of highlights. I agree with Kristen's noir assessment. Her actually being
An
more like
investigator.
Yeah.
which
I
is what
love that.
we
And
really
narrating
liked
her
before.
own stuff.
Narrating her, and she was being intelligent about it and making good decisions, and even like the theme of the show is very noir. I agree with that. But after waiting the whole season, and it was really heavy on Salinger, right?
Yep.
And really heavy on the Trish aspect, it was nice to see him come in and kind of try to comfort her, even though, yes, it could have been more. It didn't really do a lot for the overall story, especially at that point, but it was still a refreshing change, I think, is probably weird.
what
They
I
just
was
didn't
gonna,
do their character history justice, though. Like, there's no way they could, at this point.
but I think what it was doing, so we're already in the finale, so I guess we can talk about that. I think what it was doing
Sorry.
was giving the fans a little bit of a nod, just like the voiceover from
Yeah,
Kilgrave at the very last
to
few
get-
Oh,
seconds.
I loved it.
And
I mean, that's part of the crossovers anyways, to have them try to intertwine a little.
right, and I think the reason why it felt a little off, because it did, it feels a little off, there isn't a lot to it. However, remember, this is the Luke Cage that we left at the end of his series, and he was turning into sort of this morally ambiguous owner of the Harlem Paradise. We don't know where he's been since then. She makes a few references there, so even though there
She
wasn't...
commented on it too.
Yeah, she commented on that. She said something to the effect of, he made some comment about, it's a hard thing to do and it's really easy to go over the line, and she says, is that something we need to worry about with you? Like, they made a conscious effort to tie that back in, leaving it open-ended, as Kristen said, for if such a time they decide to revive either or both of these characters.
But at the end of the day, you didn't really care.
Well, that's just because you don't have a connection to the Luke Cage show.
And that's probably true.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, if it had been Matt, we probably all would have, peed a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, yay. But, I still liked the refreshing change at that point.
I don't know how I would appeal.
Well,
You wouldn't have peed. You just
I
would
think
have
that's
been
a
a
girl.
little bit
I
excited.
think that's a girl thing.
Okay, fine.
Also, it's seeding the
Charlie
fact,
Cox is
as
amazing.
Kyle
Yes,
has
yes.
repeatedly said on these episodes, by this time they're married in the comics. How can we reestablish that relationship without getting him at least back in the door?
Yeah.
So that's how I viewed that few minutes.
I think season 2 just seemed to be a decent season because it season 3, sorry,
Yes.
because it followed season 2. If
Yeah.
this had been season 2 after what we got in season 1, it would have still been very disappointing.
I still feel overall, even though I do like the highlights of that, it's still relatively kind of generic in ways as far as storytelling goes, and it did become very repetitive by the last few episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
as I always say, the villain is so important in these hero shows. At first, I thought they've got a great villain, but then he had no depth. It was just repetitively the same thing all the way through, and it became really stale.
Well,
And it was like,
I'm sure Kyle's going to launch on this because he already had a separate complaint. But before you do, what I was just going to say is that...
it.
Yeah, holster it.
Man.
You'll launch.
First
I
they're
know
like,
it.
talk, then they're like, don't talk.
Lord.
Poor honey.
The point is, with this, I agree. They had the seed of something, actually an established character in the comics, and they did not. His backstory was so incredibly stupid. Sure,
really-
serial
it was
killers are born of anything, any day, but we didn't need that for this story,
No.
especially since
Not a
the
story worth
character
telling.
is not the character as represented. Kyle.
Alright, so this season suffered from the same thing that the second season did, is that Jessica Jones's story is so tied to the other Defenders characters that she has no more comic book plots for them to use. She has no villains of her own. This is the problem with last season, so they used her mom. I mean, Hellcat's not a Jessica Jones character. They're not friends in the comics. Fool Killer is not a Jessica Jones villain. Eric Mindwave is a Daredevil villain. Yes. And he was like a one note. He was in like one comic robbing banks, and then another villain killed him. They're using all these character names and personalities and powers, but they bear no actual relationship to their comic book counterparts. Like, Fool Killer is like a mixture of, say, Deadpool and Punisher. He's this completely crazy guy who thinks he's essentially the same thing as Frank Castle, but he kills people for really stupid reasons, like jaywalking and people that, like, talk in the movie theater. Like, he's completely batshit crazy. Sorry. Completely insane. But he's really funny and, like, out there and, like, all over the place like Deadpool. And this character is, like, I don't even know why they bothered to... They should have just had him be his own instead of saying, "Oh, it's going to be Fool Killer" and same name and everything.
They call him Fool Killer?
He never used that moniker.
Was Salinger the character's the word?
Yes.
And Eric Eldon is really Mindwave's name, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say they never called him Mindwave, and so maybe they just kind of thought...
I only know this because when I start to do the internet research, it links out to the other things.
I liked the character and his relationship with Jessica Jones. That's one of the things I liked.
Agreed.
So, I didn't mind... Well, obviously I didn't mind that it wasn't like the comic book character because I don't know anything about it. But it was separate enough, and they didn't call him Mindwave, but they used his name. Whatever.
Well, the thing that's weird for me is like, okay, if you're already taking characters that aren't Jessica Jones characters or whatever, there are a million more interesting ones than the ones that they're picking. There's other Marvel villains.
It doesn't feel like the same care is being paid attention to these ones as it was maybe with Daredevil.
I mean, and there are plenty of really scary serial killers in the Marvel universe with unique little abilities or any things that could make them a problem for Jessica Jones, but then they just kind of made their own, but then they were still trying to attach this name to him because Fool Killer is actually pretty popular right now in the comics because he got his own comic book. So it just feels like they were just kind of trying to be like, oh, we'll draw viewers in because people think they're going to see this character who's kind of popular again, and they didn't deliver on it.
But he was very one note.
Yeah. He actually reminded me of the guy in the X-Files in Unruly, the guy that took the photos, and only he saw stuff in the photos as opposed to the truth in the face and whatever else. But it kind of reminded me of that.
But
because
this guy
of
was
the
like
pictures.
over the top, arrogant sociopath.
Ugh,
like
yeah.
Well, and he's
pure
killing
narcissistic sociopath.
He got annoying.
He did have a second note that they didn't... What we saw, the one note that we saw and that they focused on, which made him very two-dimensional, was that, like, Jessica Jones was cheating. But, like, his kills and seeing their truth wasn't connected to that. Like, if he was picking off people with powers and they had to try to figure out who, like, she had to use her detective abilities to save different people, but it was like, we're going to use this character, we're going to basically be done with him halfway to 3/4 of the way through, and then Hellcat will be the villain at the end.
Yeah, she did turn into the villain at the end, which was...
She goes to prison, and that's it.
Yeah,
She's done.
I was okay with that.
So I agree that I liked Eric a lot. At first I didn't know what to make of him, but as the season progressed, I liked how they sort of developed their relationship, and it was platonic but not really platonic, and they kind of helped each other.
He had an arc.
He had an arc. He did.
A lot of these characters don't.
And they had some chemistry, which, you know,
They did. I enjoyed
she
it.
didn't totally have with the last guy.
But
So-
didn't feel like a villain at all. So hearing that the character was a villain in the comic books...
Well, I don't think they meant him to be a villain on the
Well,
show. I
that-
think they rewrote
Yeah.
him.
But
Yeah,
maybe
and
they were using that as a
At that
fake
point,
out.
don't use a character that is something and advertise that character's coming. Because
They
it's
should have just
false.
not called him Eric or whatever.
Yeah,
Because I like that power for Jessica Jones, too, and how it helped and went together. So this is just somebody with a similar power would have been fine.
Yeah.
Especially for her, she considers herself a bad person, and then you have somebody that's telling you that you're not. I can tell that you're not.
And I think it worked really well for the Trish story, too.
On the flip side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, so that actually is a glorious segue to what I was going to say next. So you can
Glorious.
glorious. I'm
word.
highly praising it. This season can basically be split into 3 stories. Jerry's whatever,
Not really connected at all.
not connected at all, completely tedious.
No.
That's the repetitive one completely.
Yes.
The Salinger story arc and Trish's rise and fall as Hellcat.
So annoying. It was a retread of what we saw.
Well, but
The bits we saw, we just spent a lot more time on it and didn't...
what I liked about it this time, though, is they actually made them to, in some ways, Okay. It's a retread, but not the retread the way you're thinking. They basically set Hellcat up as the female Punisher. That's what she was playing. With Jessica Jones being the female Daredevil, but not with the same powers or skills because it was Jessica saying, no, we don't kill people. This is what it means to be a hero. And she's like, Hellcat or Trish was, I can kill because that's the right thing to do.
Okay, but
and it makes the
this
world
was already
better.
done so much better in season 2
Yeah.
of Daredevil.
Yeah, and also Frank has reasons to be the way he is, and Trish is just obnoxious.
She's
She's
just
a
an
thrill seeker.
entitled
She's a
thrill
thrill
seeker.
seeker who's
And
She wants to bring justice.
And then, like, weirdly, like, sycophant. She's supposed to be, like, your sister / best friend. You're being, like, weird. I kind of feel bad for Jessica. Because she's having to constantly deal with these various relationships, and it's like, dial it down, Trish. Dial it down.
Well, and make no mistake, I still hate Trish, but in the
Yeah.
end, this was the most interesting to me of the 3 story
Yes.
arcs because
Yes.
they had to navigate that family relationship. Frank and Matt aren't related that way, so that's what made it different. Plus, they had Crazy Mom, which I just realized was Rebecca De Mornay.
Oh, you didn't know?
Didn't
Oh, wow.
realize that. She looks so much different.
And that was
I
actually one
actually-
of the more interesting
yeah.
parts of the Salinger story is when he killed her.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting
I
her to
wasn't
kill her.
expecting it.
either.
That was the only thing I wasn't expecting. It was the
That
only
was
thing
a
that wasn't
twist.
repetitive, and it actually surprised me. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
Indeed.
Well, and
While Matt
Kristen
was
Ritter's
helping-
acting in that because she
So good.
played off her so much hatred, but they have so much history that she was really good in that funeral episode.
I agree. Well, and that's what launched sort of the interesting part of the Jessica versus Trish story arc. Because even if it felt repetitive at the end, it was this launching point of they share this now. This is a common bonding experience, a true tragedy, a reason to go after the guy, which philosophy is going to win in the end. That's what made it interesting to me. The rest of it, you're absolutely
Well, like,
right.
the
It was
only-
one note and mediocre.
I was like, I don't really care about her being helped. Like, when she was first trying on, she goes into the shop and she's like, she realizes people are, recognizing her as Patsy or whatever. So then she's trying on stuff. When she puts on the yellow span, I mean, that's the Hellcat costume.
Yeah.
And then
I
she's
know.
like, and then she looks at herself and she's like,
Hell no.
no.
She literally said, hell no.
That was funny.
Also,
that felt
was
like
an
a pun.
episode that Kristen Ritter directed.
Was it?
Oh,
was
I did
the
not
Trish
even notice.
Episode 2, the Trish episode, Kristen Ritter directed it, so that's another reason why she's not in it as much.
Interesting. I did not notice that.
Yeah, they had a lot of female directors, but she was their most notable, quote unquote.
What else did you like or not like?
I was going to say, I can tell Spencer does not care because he's not talking very much.
I didn't care for any of the Trish / Patsy as a kid actor and seeing
Flashbacks.
The
Where,
flashback Trish.
I feel like we got most of what they were
in season
showing
2,
us.
They
and we
showed
didn't
us. We had a whole
need
episode
it
about
any-
that too.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to,
They're trying to still make you feel conflicted.
Sympathetic toward her.
Yeah.
which really they just showed why she's doing. Like they justified it, so it made sense in the end by seeing all this. But it didn't do its job of making me sympathetic for it.
They
It
made
made
her-
me bored.
They made her so unlikable in season 2, like when she's trying to force the doctor to give her powers and she like beats Malcolm up and puts him in the trunk. Like they made her so unlikable that like even her and Jessica working together in this season didn't even feel that realistic after she did all that to her and killed her mom. So I wasn't that invested in them fixing that family relationship.
Yeah, I wanted to continue to not like her as much after she killed Elisa, but...
I also wanted.
I didn't need
Jess-
them to fix it. I just liked the interplay.
Yeah, and I did like them working together a little bit, too, with that dynamic and that conflict in between them. It made it interesting for their team up, but...
In fact,
I
it
just
actually...
didn't care about Trish at the end.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. So when Jessica basically fights her in the end, that was highly satisfying to
Yeah.
me. And just putting the smack down and getting her arrested, that was good.
gave us a good visual of their powers, the difference, like how much more powerful Jessica was. The one moment or scene I wanted...
Because her experiment wasn't botched and forced.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The one moment I would have wanted to see is like Trish telling Jessica she has to kill Salinger because he killed her mom, and Jessica being like, does that mean I should kill you? Because...
Flipping the script a little
Yeah,
bit.
but that didn't come up.
Yeah.
You also had the whole part of the Trish arc where she starts training herself, and it was very akin to what we had in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
When she was
Like,
training
it's
with
like,
that, I thought
I went out, I
Yeah.
punched 3 things, and now I'm a superhero. It's like,
Yeah.
At least she had powers.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
had power. She didn't just pick up a stick and start wailing on people. She actually,
But it-
we saw an evolution of that.
But it was still a pretty weak evolution. Jumping from rock to rock in the park isn't
I just
really...
generally think
Not just that. She
Doing-
told Jessica she didn't need a flashlight. She can see in the dark.
right.
She ate her carrots.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know anything about Hellcat in the comics,
She
but
has supernatural powers derived from hell.
well, that sounds much cooler. This Hellcat is lame sauce.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just the trouble with this whole season. There was potential in all three of those storylines that never really came to bear fruit.
Yeah,
Yep.
especially Jerry. I'm
Hated-
saying
I was gonna
that again.
say, I hated Jerry's whole story. And I could
Every
have done without it.
scene that I did not
Didn't
care
think I really
about
liked
that
Jerry.
relationship.
I didn't like her in
Ever.
the set. Yeah.
No.
Well, it's like all of her
But they
entire
made
thing
her
in season 2
absolutely
was like her
irredeemable.
fall from grace and like how she's gonna pick herself up and live her final days as like a good person, and then all of a sudden this season
Does
she's like,
none of it.
Nothing.
I'm the worst person in the world.
Irredeemable.
Destroys a marriage, which was already open-ended, just because she had to have this chick, who she cheated on in college, to marry the girl that got killed in season 1. That is
She's
just
a
not
detestable
nice.
human being.
Doesn't. No.
Although Carrie Ann Moss did act her well, it just wasn't...
She's awesome.
There just
although
wasn't
she'll
enough
always
depth
be
in the
Trinity to
writing.
me. So,
Yeah, she was just so incredibly self-serving. Like, I'm like, here you are. You've, in theory, formed relationships with Jessica, even Malcolm, and you're willing to throw them still to the dogs after everything. It's just so ridiculous. And I get the whole point for it. It was needless.
What
just
was
like-
it? I didn't get the point of it.
There were
Because I
just
mean, and Jessica was there for her in season 2 when she was like at her lowest, and then for her to pretty much just keep stabbing her in the back.
Or in the front.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it
Yeah,
was straight
she's-
to her face.
I know, especially when she called her and she's like, "I need you to be my friend and feed me my suicide pills when the time comes."
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my
What-
god, I
what-
forgot
or
about that.
representing
Yeah,
the
I'm like-
serial killer that
I was
tried
gonna say
to
that was the
kill
most
her.
obnoxious is when she was doing the press
Forgot
conference
about
with the
that.
serial killers and throwing all vigilantes under the bus.
Yes, that she'd been, and then being surprised that the Rand Corporation pulled away. Because that happened.
What?
It did.
It
I
did.
know.
They
It
mentioned it. They
They
talked
mentioned
about it.
Yeah.
Because Danny Rand is missing.
They did say that.
They said that they
he's
see
MIA.
because she's like, Danny Rand would never allow this, and he's like, well, nobody knows
Danny's
where he
been
is.
gone for
They
6
said
months.
some sort of sabbatical is what
Yeah.
they said.
He's
we know
overseas,
where he
but
is.
they
He's
probably
overseas
called
blocking
him.
bullets.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they probably called him, though, and told him, and he probably said, that's no good. Take it out.
Do what you need to do.
With some rat
my
music.
mystical Tai Chi stuff.
Yeah.
Intensified glowing fist guns.
Which I still would have liked to see.
See, actually,
Me
I
too.
would have seen them actually like flame up like they're supposed to.
But Jessica
And flying.
herself, Kristen Ritter, still did a great job.
She did.
Yeah, oh
She
yeah.
did a great job with the scripts that she was given.
That was the best
Absolutely.
part. Like, I loved her. I still loved her being, her usual sassy, sarcastic Jessica self, especially with Salinger. Like, because he kept thinking every minute that he was getting her, but she outsmarted him. I love when she made him look like an idiot in front of all the kids.
students.
Yeah.
One of my favourite scenes is when she went in and directly attacked his pride and ego by smashing his trophies and destroying his
loved it.
certificates.
Yeah.
She
That
was
was satisfying.
Taunting
so good.
him
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
it was
reaction.
like-
It was
Yep.
fantastic. That
Really, that was a special moment.
Really, those were my only favorite parts. Were the parts where Jessica was just being,
Jessica.
her. Yep. Otherwise, the rest of it is
What
like,
about her assistant, her new assistant?
Liked her.
It was kind of fun.
She was sassy too.
She didn't take any crap
No.
from those.
Yeah, I liked when she was like, "Gosh, she just died." Like when Dorothy does die, and
Yeah.
everyone's trying to call and get Jessica's like comment on it. Like,
Why don't you let her bury her mother, shithead?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I thought she was a great match for Jessica.
I know, I kind of wanted to see more of that character, but she
well, yeah.
ended up
Now that
fading
she's
away.
letting, that's a little sad too, just because she is letting more of a posse happen. So
She's more professional, more.
yeah.
She has a website now,
She does. And an orange couch
and an orange
that she
couch,
hated.
but she slept on it.
She sure did.
I'd
She
hire
comes
her.
around. My one gripe about the series finale is that the pan away is her still in the train station.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been nice if maybe she'd gone out into the city or gone back toward
Should have
aliens
shown her walking
investigations.
down the stairs out of the train station
Yeah,
back into the city would have
just-
been a better finish.
Yeah, I would think so, because where
Because then
it
you know where
was,
she ends up, kind of a thing.
or
more,
the direction she's going.
Yeah.
I don't think they want. I don't
I
think
don't
they
think-
decided where she
Yeah.
was going.
Yeah.
I
and
agree with
and
that.
I kind of appreciated that, where it's like I feel she's obviously going back into the city. She's not leaving New York, but there's still that like 0.001% chance that she could just go get on another train.
I don't think so. She's
But-
defying her Kilgrave hallucination and or projection. We don't know.
Yeah.
One
We just
remains
like to hear
hopeful.
David Tennant talk.
Yes, we do.
Do we?
As soon as that purple spotlight came down, oh
We
man.
didn't even see it. We just heard his voice.
We didn't need to see it.
We imagined it.
Oh, so glorious.
All the guys are like, oh, jeez. It's
Recorded that
tradition.
on a phone in a cupboard and sent it to them.
Look, that's one of the traditions. Would you like to take a moment to razz Kristen now?
No.
Okay.
Sweet.
Oh, you're good? You passed one. Hey!
He'll just do it
Is
when you're
there-
not paying attention.
I don't care.
See, I think the problem with this show, Kyle already really pointed out, is that while Kristen Ritter does a phenomenal job of playing Jessica Jones, they don't have enough source material to give you anything of great substance. And they didn't have strong enough writers to give us, after season 1, to give us anything of substance. So there's very much the one-dimensional or the uninteresting villain. Even when the potential was there for a good villain, I thought the serial killer arc was going to be really interesting, but then he just
It
stayed
fell
this
flat.
flat
Yeah,
note. And
flat.
I just feel like they were kind of shooting in the dark with it a little bit.
I mean,
Yeah.
in perfect season 3, if they were going to end it, I would have had Luke Cage be the villain and then end it with his redemption and him and her walking off into the sunset. But
That would have been a cool story.
that would have been a better story than we got.
yeah,
It also would have been a nice tie-off for Luke Cage,
yeah.
since that ended in a kind of weird open Godfather
ended.
Part 2 way,
Yeah.
Part 1 way. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your final chance and your final ranking. All the shows, all the seasons, all the episodes. Where are you with the 5 solo defenders? Go.
Daredevil, Punisher, Iron Fist. This is from the best to the worst.
Thanks for the qualifier.
Jessica Jones and then Luke Cage last. Do I have to throw Defenders in there?
No. Everybody complained when I tried to make you do that,
And
so
we
don't do it.
just did these when we did the Punisher recently.
You did.
And I'm
So
trying to
has
remember
it
the exact order
changed?
I
I feel like I
had.
might have had Iron Fist and Punisher flipped, but
And I believe I did Punisher just ever so very slightly wafer thin ahead of Daredevil. And then I think I did Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. And I still feel the same.
Mine is the same. I definitely start off with Daredevil at the top, Punisher right behind him, few steps down, then Iron Fist, then Jessica Jones, and then Luke Cage.
Easily Daredevil.
Shut!
Easily Daredevil. And it's really close for the second because I really love Punisher and Iron Fist, especially Iron Fist Season 2. But I'm going to give the edge to Punisher because the first season of Punisher was a little more even than Iron Fist's first season. Then Jessica Jones, and then Luke Cage, just because Luke Cage I had the hardest time watching out of all of them.
This is hard because I love Jessica Jones.
Just let her go, man.
I know, but I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it because the season was so much better than season 2. Nothing will ever compare to Jessica Jones season 1. That's not going to happen. So, top spot, I'm going to cop out. I'm going to do Daredevil and Jessica Jones together.
what?
I really love her character, and I love how Kristen Ritter plays her, and for me that is important as well. But Daredevil overall is stronger, even though I did. Hey, stop giving him an opportunity! Sister wife team, come on. Even though Daredevil overall, the quality was higher throughout the same amount of time over 3 seasons than Jessica Jones, because season 2 was such a big dip, that should be the top spot, but I'm going to be stubborn and make them tie. Then Punisher would be next. Iron Fist, just because it had a lot of potential that I wish I could have seen them realize. And then all the way down the stairs across the street, next town over, is Luke Cage, because I couldn't connect because there was no good villain, period. But I like Mike Coulter, so good job, buddy.
Good job,
He's
buddy.
attractive.
He is.
He is.
He's a very handsome man.
Yes. My order does not change for the reasons that I said before. Daredevil is very much number 1. Those were 3 awesome seasons. They only got better as it went. I would put Iron Fist number 2 because that was like a brand new discovery for me. I'm so much more interested.
She likes mystical things.
I love mystical things. There's a dragon in it. Come on! I mean, he's dead, but it's fine.
He gets reborn every so many
Yeah! And people get to share, and their fists turn different colors. I mean, the whole thing was cool. And I know he said he was in the Immortal Iron Fist a lot. But the second season just was so much better even than the first season. Then I would give the Punisher, which normally, the Punisher's not in my bailiwick, but John Bernthal is so good, and those were so well written. I just think it's solidly there. And if Iron Fist weren't in the mix, that would be my number 2. Jessica Jones is number 3. One really good season, one really bad season, and one middling season means it's going to average to be middling. So that's
You
kind of
averaged.
You
Too
averaged. And I wouldn't even put it. So for me, it'd be Daredevil at the top, take 3 steps down, Iron Fist, take 1 step down, Punisher, take 6 steps down, Jessica Jones.
Ooh.
Take 10 steps down or more, Luke Cage.
She said across the street.
Yeah.
Over.
That's too much. I can't do geography. We'll just stick with the ladder.
Slow boat to China.
Yeah, right. Luke Cage, I wanted to like, but I agree there wasn't.
Sorry
just,
to all those people who.
I
really
know.
are.
We
I don't
tried
want
really
to.
hard.
I don't want to stop.
Thematically, it was great.
Oh,
Cinematography
yeah.
was
Visually
great.
stunning.
Music was great. I liked the general atmosphere. There was not. I mean, Bushwhacker was better than the other guys, but
He was still
The
kind of.
pacing was
pacing
so
was
bad.
It was.
Yes.
It was not good pacing. It was still generic.
yeah.
Sorry, friends.
So that's where I'm at, and I'm pretty stuck on that. Jessica Jones was created by Melissa Rosenberg. This is her second TV project, but the first one got canceled after 1 season. It was called Red Widow. Would you watch anything else she creates, past or future?
Based on seasons 2 and 3, no.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I won't be drawn just because it's her.
She adapted this, and she adapted the first one well, but
But she was working off of material that
That was
existed.
already
Once
existed.
the material ran out, she didn't come up with anything good.
I agree.
Yes.
You agree as well?
Yeah, I don't usually necessarily, well, really that often. Maybe certain people, like I know you've said before, you're super obsessed with Joss Whedon. You'll always follow whatever he does. But for the most part, I'm going to follow what projects just seem most interesting, regardless of who's involved. But yeah, this wasn't the best. That's why it's like, maybe it's kind of sad that it's ending, but at the same time, I'm not feeling a loss with this one. I really only felt the loss with like Daredevil and Punisher. The other 3, I'm a little more like, okay, like I'll survive without them.
I felt huge loss with Iron Fist. I want to know about his super glowing intensified.
I do too.
After that last
Yeah, read the
episode,
comments. Because thank you.
Yeah. Where they were
With guns.
going.
Where he's actually using his abilities. But it's fine. It's still cool. It is a lot of cool mysticism stuff.
Yeah, that's just.
I agree with that. I agree.
The props were cool in that show too.
There was lots of cool choreographed martial arts scenes. That was also cool.
I like the opening titles a lot. Kyle, would you follow Melissa Rosenberg?
Not particularly. The reason I enjoyed this show was Kristen Ritter. It had nothing to do with
Yeah,
the
I agree.
showrunners or the writing or anything, so.
Excellent segue. Would you follow any of the stars, including Kristen Ritter, to past or future TV projects? Of course, ignoring anything in the Defenders universe. Crossovers not count.
I already kind of knew Kristen Ritter because she was on Breaking Bad.
Yes.
So
She had a recurring arc.
and Breaking Bad is amazing. So
Yes.
So I kind of had already done it. I would, again, if the project is interesting, I would definitely watch it with her.
I'd definitely be excited if she's in something that I want to watch.
Yeah,
Like, I
she
know
wouldn't
she'll-
stop
Yeah.
me from watching something. I wouldn't necessarily automatically pick it up because of her, but she wouldn't stop me from watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to go back. I knew who she was before this, and I was excited that she was going to be playing this character that I
She
knew
was
nothing
in
about.
Gilmore Girls.
She was for a little bit, and but I'd
And
recognized
she talked
her.
like this.
Yeah.
Well, I went back after Jessica Jones first came out and tried to watch Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23.
Oh yeah.
That lasted for a couple seasons, and I couldn't do it. It
Yeah.
wasn't anything. It wasn't her. It was the show was bad.
I heard that show was kind of lame.
It was lame.
Canceled after
She
2
was great.
seasons.
She really fully embodies the character that she plays, and I appreciate that about her. But it's just been kind of bad luck that the shows haven't been as strong as she is.
I think I would watch it if she was in it. I will watch. Evil's been on the pickup list. We've already had requests for it. And I give 2 reasons for that one. Mike Coulter and Michael Emerson.
Yeah, when I saw Michael Emerson was in that, I
Yeah,
thought
he's
about
great.
picking that one up as well.
Nothing I've heard is bad. It's
That's
all
good news.
good stuff.
Interesting.
Very suspenseful, very, horror aspect for CBS. It's kind of weird. And then, of course, David Tennant. I follow him everywhere.
Hearts. You
Probably don't advertise. We don't really follow you everywhere.
No.
I mean, not in real life.
If you
I
notice-
can't afford the trip back and forth overseas.
If you notice a disturbed hedgerow, don't worry.
No,
but
David Tennant,
But
if
I
you're
will
listening.
say
He's
I
not on
don't.
social
I don't
media.
follow everything that he
No, he's
does
not.
though. There was this show like Camping on HBO or something with Jennifer Garner, and I'm like, this doesn't even look interesting. I watched the trailer and I'm like, pass.
I've heard mixed reviews.
Pass.
I've never
Grace
heard of that.
No, me either.
It's a remake of a British show on HBO. But what I heard was he was good, she was less. So,
Not a shock.
Yeah. She has her niche.
would you follow anyone, Nick?
David Tennant is good. But it's still project. It's more like, in general, if it's something
Yeah.
good. It might tip me over the edge if I'm on the fence. Like, oh, that might be interesting. The actors then can help. But it's generally like, is it something I would want to watch or not?
So it's funny because in the last episode I asked all of you twice to make predictions and you totally changed the subject both times. Because you didn't want to even, I guess, address the idea of predicting anything happening in season 3. And Kristen was overmatched at the time with a bunch of people hating it. And she was like, whatever, I like it and I'm going down the ship.
But I still didn't want to make predictions because it didn't
Yes.
go well.
So ultimately, you've all said season 3 is better than season 2. Would you say the show redeemed itself by the end?
No.
So
Not for me.
I mean, a little.
It-
It seemed like it had some
if-
upward momentum again, but
But
it's
when
so
you look
hard
at
to come
season
back from.
2, I don't think you could have gone any further down than season 2 took this show. After season 1, it was such a drop-off.
Your phrase was, quote, dumpster fire.
Yes, season 2 was absolutely a dumpster fire. And I guess
There
season
was
3
associated
was...
gifts.
Yeah, I think season
Yeah.
3 was probably dumping water on that dumpster fire, putting it out, and trying to salvage what was
Damn
left of the
trash.
burned
Yeah.
stuff in the trash can. And there's sometimes treasures in a dumpster, you never know.
I will not know.
It's too bad it's a podcast and we couldn't have had that expression.
Hey, outside the
my.
back of a Best Buy in the late 90s, you could find some good stuff. I have no idea, really.
I'm like, what are we learning right now? I'm so confused.
I'm just riffing.
I do
We're going
agree.
off the rails.
It did not redeem itself. I just remember, and I haven't rewatched it. Now Hillary makes me not want to rewatch season 1.
I don't want to do that. I'm just saying, like, when you go back, part of it is, like, they're both still amazing together. Part of it is, I feel like, for me, a lot of it was the suspense and not knowing where it was going in that first season. And it is still good. I still think it's good. But that wow factor that you first experience is still not the same. Whereas Kyle, of course, has gone back and rewatched Daredevil a few times. I have partaken with him. It is still amazing every single time.
And I just sing the song I've always sung, that the reason why season 1, aside from the suspense, was so good is because David Tennant is so good.
Yes.
He was a very compelling,
What?
strong
The
villain.
villain made the show?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Whereas nobody else really...
they won't come close.
Compare.
No villain would ever come
But
close
yeah,
to
like,
Kilgrave in
yeah.
that
And,
show.
you know, Kristen Ritter is really good. She's very consistent. The reason why she was so compelling, aside from just being sarcastic and doesn't give anything, DGAF,
No F's given.
correct, was the fact that she had such an amazing playoff with David Tennant.
Yes.
They were great together.
And with Mike Coulter, but especially with David Tennant.
See, I think of all of the Defenders shows, all of the Marvel TV shows, this is the one where I don't think it should come back as a standalone.
No, I don't find it. I don't think it's redeemable the same way. Like, all of us love these types of shows. We're very into these comic book properties. But now we're fortunate enough now where we're in a place where, because it's gained the momentum it has, we have a lot of choices with it. And yes, again, it's sad that it's ending, but to me, I'm not feeling that loss because they didn't do enough with it. So when there's all that other, between Marvel and DC properties, because I like them all, but they can be done really well. So you have the opportunity now to do it well, or to kind of, like, I still feel like this last season they were still shooting a little bit in the dark to try to make it come together, and it still didn't quite happen for it.
Everybody liked the noir tone. I think you said that. Do you have any parting shots? Again, anything that you want to say just in terms of you haven't expressed?
I still like the cinematography of this. I think we've talked before in the other episodes. I like all of, like, the opening credit pieces with it. I think they were all very fitting. This one is very noir-y.
It is.
I think the entire Marvel TV universe was shot well, and
Yeah.
the fight choreography was very good throughout. Just
Yeah.
some of these characters don't have deep enough story matter to
Yeah.
stand alone on their own.
Right. I'll give you that.
They weren't really meant to, but they, it was worth a shot. Some of it was good.
Do you have any hopes and dreams?
Is this still just Jessica Jones or Defenders in general?
Anything you
Well,
want?
we know Daredevil's coming back in some form, so I wouldn't mind, because Jessica Jones in the comics, she pretty much doesn't have her own company anymore. She works for lawyers and police. No more private cases. It would be nice if she popped up and working for Nelson and Murdoch like she does for them. Like if they need an investigative for a trial, they hire her.
I kind of secretly hoped at the end that there would be sort of a show up of either Foggy or Matt or even Karen, just saying.
And I think the
Just a
problem
time.
there was that because it's switching ownership per se,
No, I know.
there was just no care as to how it finished.
Yeah.
They just wanted it closed.
Yeah, it was like, okay, well, we've got to do 10 episodes. Let's just get them in the can, and people will watch them anyway because they've already watched the other seasons. They'll want to finish them off.
I really enjoy the world, and my hope and dream is that if they bring any of it back, that they don't necessarily do it character by character. They have the option, and if Disney has the money, they certainly do.
They should condense into
Collaboration.
3
They
shows.
should be
Yeah.
condensing them.
They should condense into 3 shows. You should have The Punisher, Daredevil, which would feature Jessica Jones at times, and then Heroes for Hire.
I
Which
completely
would also
agree.
feature. You could also have her in Heroes for Hire. She'd be married to Luke Cage.
Right.
Yeah.
Them dealing with, we're both superheroes. We both have powers, and we're raising this baby. We don't know what's going to have powers, and dealing with this company they're trying to start up.
Yeah, that'd be fun to
It'd
watch.
be an interesting show for the 3 of them. They could both.
And even as cool as Daredevil and Punisher are by themselves, that half of a season that they shared together was super awesome.
It was
Even if they just popped up in each other's lives, crossing the same paths again.
Yeah, they could do crossovers between their 2 standalone shows, and they would work.
Yeah, that's what I want. I don't necessarily need maybe just a Daredevil or just a Punisher, or an Iron Fist. Not Jessica Jones and Luke Cage by themselves, certainly. I don't think
No,
they
they're
can.
stronger with other people.
Yeah, they really
Well,
are.
even with Iron Fist, the best stuff from Iron Fist was when he and Luke Cage was together.
Oh, absolutely.
Except for the end,
Except
when
for
he
the
had
very
the
end,
intensified
right.
glowing cheek gun hand.
That made all of us go, ooh.
I know.
But overall, the best scenes in those were when those 2 were together. They had really good chemistry together.
Yeah.
Did.
Well, I loved the Defenders.
Yeah,
Having them all 4 together was awesome.
I was gonna say that's one of the things that's how I wish that should have been the last thing on Netflix was another
crossover.
Defenders.
Ending with the
And I
Defenders.
think if
To
they
get
had
them
known
all
it was going to
together.
end, they would have maybe changed the chronological
the order a little bit.
If wishes were dreams. But we'll see what Disney
I kind of want
does.
Daredevil to be with the Avengers, though.
Can't he just going to both places?
Sure, absolutely.
They're kind of in a hiatus on the whole Marvel thing at the moment, though.
They're
It's true.
gearing up for Phase 4.
Some
Yeah.
major resets and things.
There are,
New
yeah.
people taking over characters, etc., etc.
Some of them on TV.
Which they're all going to officially tie in to
Yeah.
movies and things, so it's still going to be important to watch. Real quick, my only hope and dream is that Charlie Cox comes back as Daredevil.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be satisfied, even Finn Jones, I don't think I would be satisfied if other people played these characters. Unless there was some distance of time.
Number 1 on my list is Vincent D'Onofrio as
He
Kingpin.
has
Correct.
to. He has to.
Anybody else would just be wrong.
Well, and I think Charlie has to be Daredevil.
Okay.
I think John Bernthal has to be the Punisher.
Yep.
They were amazing. But I also feel, I feel some loyalty to the stars of
Yeah.
each of the properties. Whatever you do, Finn is Danny and Mike is Luke and Kristen is Jessica at this point. They've established them.
By the end of Iron Fist, I could say Finn was Danny.
Yeah.
If it was the end of the first season, I wouldn't have minded if they'd started the second season with a different actor, but he did redeem himself by the end.
He did.
Well, and if they let enough time pass and it doesn't feel so fresh, maybe I would feel differently. But I also just, look, you're Marvel and you base your whole brand on the continuity of characters. So to me, it would feel a little bit weird.
It'd feel
if they
weird, but if they
recast.
actually got him in his full costume and the flaming fists, I could almost forgive them recasting it. If I could see a perfect comic book adaptation that we never got
That's
to
what
see.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that.
Whereas
that-
Charlie Cox
at this
in the
point,
uniform
he's
the perfect comic adaptation.
Right.
John Bernthal when he has the skull vest on, perfect.
That's why for those other 3, I don't feel the same loss because they still weren't really quite.
They never ended where they should.
They were
have.
never
actualized, and they were still kind of far away from it. And like I said, they were just taking bits and pieces of it, whereas Daredevil was actually more like Daredevil, and Punisher was more like Punisher.
But again, I think that's more to the writing and not the acting, and that's where I'm at with it. Like,
Yeah, no, I agree. There's nothing wrong with the actors.
And they also gave Punisher and Daredevil bigger budgets, and
they did. That's true, which is weird in a way.
it's the two biggest Marvel.
Yeah.
Other than they're the biggest
They had the
comics
biggest
and
names.
merchandising
Yeah,
there.
the other
Yeah.
ones are more side people.
I only mention weird because Punisher was considered spin-off.
Yeah.
I'd heard of both the Punisher and Daredevil prior to the TV shows. I
me as
actually
well.
hadn't have heard of the other three.
I had heard of Iron Fist otherwise, but knew nothing about it, and had not heard of the other two. The Defenders is over for now, as is our series. Did you find the Watch of All series at least worth it in the end? Will you revisit any or all of these series? Kyle's love for Daredevil aside, do any or all of these series rank as favorites for you overall? So in all of your TV shows that you love, do any of these merit a favorite ranking? Explain. What are your feelings about the shows now that all is said and done, at least for the foreseeable future?
I'm definitely gonna rewatch Daredevil and see if that rewatch makes me want to rewatch it again later. But that one is the one closest to maybe being a favorite. Punisher is really well done and really enjoyable, but I like Daredevil more. So that one is the closest to being a favorite, but I don't know what that means. It means how many times I'm going to watch it in my life, I guess.
So I was actually trying to think of, I'm a nerd and I like to make lists, and I was trying to think of what are my all-time favorite TV shows. I think this would make my brother-in-law happy, but I think Daredevil is in it. Because it's, again, my only...
Well, you were right, honey.
Yeah. The Ben Affleck movie was bad.
It was
Everybody
worse than
knows
bad.
It's really bad.
Everybody.
And I had seen
fine.
that.
It was season 2 Jessica Jones bad.
I was going to say,
You guys haven't sat through the director's cut with an extra hour and Coolio in a supporting role.
Oh, Joe,
Oh my
no.
God, Lord.
No, thank
And
you.
I never will I.
Yeah, I sadly own it as a completionist,
Well,
but
I think Daredevil would be
There would be something
in my
cathartic
favorite.
I have a
about
question.
burn
Do we
barrel.
also own?
Yeah.
Do we also own Green Lantern?
no,
Okay.
hell no.
Ryan Reynolds had good sense enough to kill that at the end. Credits of Daredevil.
I watched that
we
movie,
owned the crappy
and I
Daredevil,
gave away every issue of Green Lantern comic book I owned. I kid you not, it killed the entire series.
it
for
broke
me.
his heart. It broke his heart. And
It is
Green
widely
Lantern,
panned.
Green Lantern was like in his
Ryan Reynolds apologizes for it.
frequently.
As Deadpool, he went back and killed himself.
It's fantastic.
But Daredevil is easily like one of my all-time favorite shows. Just slightly behind Better Call Saul. I own them. I bought them on Blu-ray, and I rewatch them like every month. Like there's things I still pick up when I rewatch them again and again.
I mean, it wouldn't be in my top 10, but definitely in my top 30.
I'd probably put Punisher and Daredevil both in my top 30. They're good shows.
The only other superhero show that I probably would put in my top 30 is Smallville.
Oh,
That
yeah.
makes any reference. So,
Smallville is fantastic.
if you haven't watched
I know, it's on the list.
Smallville,
It's
one that
getting there.
started them all.
It's getting there.
Well,
I've
mostly.
not watched.
In this
Lewis and
generation,
Clark.
anyway. Yeah, Lewis and Clark.
I was like,
I realised that as
I was like, you're making a mistake.
There was a Dean Cain
There
show.
was other
I
shows.
watched most of
Yeah,
it.
this show.
But
I
of this
have to wait to
generation.
see
Yeah,
how
you're
the
right, yeah.
Flash ends, because
Well, I was connecting to the old one.
Oh, the old Flash? No. And anybody else? Any of these shows rank as favorite for you?
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
know
Yeah,
30
dude.
was a favorite. That's a long list. So Daredevil might be on it. 30.
Yeah, maybe
I do
if got
100
that.
lists for myself.
Yikes.
But I haven't reached 100 with
Like,
TV
you don't
shows.
even know, like, her whole world is making lists.
High fidelity.
Have you not questioned why she's always asking us to make lists?
Lists are
You
for
did
love,
question
but-
it.
David Letterman was my favorite!
Just
Anyways, yeah, Daredevil's super good, and I love it too.
How many times did you submit a top 10 list from Grand Rapids to David Letterman?
I didn't have to because it was the home office for a
For a while,
while.
wasn't it?
I was like, from Grand Rapids, Michigan, the tax breaks are good there. That's what he said.
Anyways, yeah, Daredevil's super awesome, and it is a good show. I would put it I don't know how long it's going to be like on Netflix to watch, but I'm glad that we have it so that I
Well,
can.
they own it, so I don't see it going away.
Yeah.
I don't.
Unless Disney shells out a ton of money, it's not going anywhere.
It'll either be on one or the other. I'm positive of it.
Disney would have to pay substantially, I think, because there's
To get
definitely
all
an
the rights.
acrimonious.
No.
Well, they do have all the money in the world, but there's an acrimonious relationship between the two at this point.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know if I will go back and rewatch any of these. I know. Weird. But
I
I
could
just...
see you rewatching season 1 of Jessica Jones.
Maybe a long way down the line. But usually with what I'm finding with the comic book shows is that I enjoy watching them more in the moment when they're fresh and not necessarily on a rewatch. I don't know. I think it's too soon to say. Even as good as, season 3 of Daredevil was, I don't know if I will go back and watch that anytime soon, or Punisher. It's going to have to be a couple of years, I think, before I'm like, I've forgotten enough. Let me watch it again. And as far as where they rank, I've never even really thought about like a top 10, 20, 30, etc. list for TV, so I really don't know. I still like these shows better than most of the DCTU shows on the CW, so they're higher than most of those. Not all of them, because The Flash is really good.
Yeah, the first season of Flash, I have rewatched that
first
multiple
2
times.
seasons.
Yeah.
But the
so-
first season, second season is amazing, but the first season I literally have gone back and rewatched it a few
Yeah,
times.
I mean, it's way better than Supergirl. These are better than in most episodes of Arrow.
Supergirl suffers from the same
Oh.
issues that Jessica
Yeah.
Jones does.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't know
No
how to write a
consistent source
strong
material.
female character storyline because there's not enough material for them in the comic book world.
There's not.
That's the problem. So,
Supergirl has no canon.
yeah, Supergirl still sucks.
It's better since Crisis.
It is. I will give you that. It's on the upswing since Crisis, but we will talk about
Yeah,
that
we
in
can
another
talk about that
podcast.
another
Which is the next time this group will reconvene on the DCTU series.
Yeah. And hopefully another property or two besides that going forward. I'm not done talking with you guys yet, so just saying.
Kristen loves you.
I do. Why do you think I jumped on the Arrow panel and had to catch up on like 6 seasons so quickly?
Well, we are
But
awesome.
I mean, we are talking about, I mean, the future of Marvel TV is still looking great. WandaVision
It
looks
is.
amazing.
Yes.
Falcon and Winter Soldier looks amazing.
Loki.
Loki.
Like, I will literally sign up for those shows right now. 'cause
And
I'm
I mean,
gonna
these
watch
the
them.
Yeah.
budgets and the treatments that these new series
Because they
get
are actually
amazing.
trying to follow, like, comic books.
Say what
Yeah.
you will about how Disney affected where we are right now. I think it will help them
In the
continue
future.
it forward with what they have and bringing some of the other Marvel properties together too.
I honestly think that if they greenlit anything, provided there was a negotiable time frame, most all of these people would come back. That seems to be
Potentially.
what I'm reading. Especially the Daredevil cast, especially the Punisher
Oh,
cast.
absolutely.
But even the other 3, everybody has expressed nothing but joy.
It just comes down to a
Having
question of
worked.
timing, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
And
they
then, I mean,
really
people
want
quit-
them to come back, they'll make it work.
Pretty much the entire cast of Daredevil has been weirdly keeping themselves wide open. All of
Yeah.
them. The girl who plays Karen Page,
Deborah Ann Woll.
Deborah Ann Woll, and Alden Henson, and they're just doing like little plays and things where it's limited engagements and they'll be free by the time this thing expires. So it's been pretty clear that it's the direction
Yeah.
Marvel wants.
It's hard for actors to say no to Disney too. So if it's a character they like to play,
Well, they have a
the-
massive pot of money.
yes.
Well, and
Yeah.
Kevin Feige's favorite character is Daredevil. He always wanted to do Daredevil movies, but he couldn't get the rest of the studio
That
suits
bodes well.
behind Daredevil.
Yeah.
That does bode very well.
So that's part of the reason why Daredevil got the best treatment even on Netflix, because he was the creative force pushing to get this really well done. I know he'll be treated right by Marvel.
And hopefully now that they know, like with the success of the Punisher, they can go darker, they can go more
Yes,
violent,
'cause,
and
like,
still have an audience.
Yeah.
I think that was really promising.
Because
for
Disney
them to
owns
see.
it, but they still let Marvel do their thing, and that's what's important. Let the studio. That's something that Warner Brothers could learn for
Oh
DC.
God, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Get creative minds behind it, not
The
studio
people who
yes.
are
Disney
actually.
does have the leg up on Warner Brothers, you must admit.
I
For
love,
that, yes, absolutely.
Listen, I love DC properties as much as Marvel. I'm even keel, but in terms of on-screen adaptations,
They're throwing
Marvel-
darts at a board.
Yeah.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. In his Disney disgust, at least we can say, for Spencer's perspective, it's better than Warner Brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't disagree with that as far as the way in which they handle properties is better. It's just their power lust of buying up everything. And I do worry that over the course of time it will dilute the quality of what we get because there'll be no competition left.
As long as they let... Oh, Pixar is doing well because they let them do their
Exactly.
thing, too.
Well, yeah, letting the studios that you buy have their own thing. Part of the problem I have as well is that they kind of whitewash the original content. Like, it's not called A.A. Mills' Winnie the Pooh anymore. It's Disney's Winnie the Pooh. It's not even Disney's Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Mill. You know, they've completely scrubbed
Disney
the
synergy.
creator away from it, and I despise that. That's probably my biggest gripe with Disney.
To be fair, they're similar, but not in any way the same. A.A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh and Disney's version of it.
Right, it's just taking his name off the property. So somebody that's just
They did the
discovering
same
Winnie
with
the
Lewis
Pooh.
Carroll's
It'll say
Alice
like
in
Walt
Wonderland.
Disney. It's like Walt Disney's.
Right, the people discovering Winnie the Pooh for the first time have no idea that it wasn't created by Disney.
I will say, I don't know if people would still be reading Winnie the Pooh. Not that I've gone back, but there's other
No, but that's
books
fair.
that I've
I
gone
mean,
back.
I was gonna say,
Mary
like,
Poppins too.
I'm
It's
gonna
just-
use the
I don't
Peter
know.
Pan thing because, like, I mean, I have always loved Peter Pan. I'm obsessed with the story. I've seen the different versions of it. I mean, of course, at some point you see Disney's Peter Pan. There are parts of it that I love and other parts that I don't. But ultimately, I mean, it's all Peter Pan, so I'm going to subscribe to it. And just like with some of these other things, like, I know that there's original story. I can just see them separately for what they are and enjoy them equally.
That's the only reason I read The Hunchback of Notre Dame was because there's a Disney movie of it that
And
I
the book
enjoyed.
is much better than the movie.
Well, but that's some pretty dense material for,
A child.
yes.
Well, also, the movie was kind of boring. That one was kind of boring.
I enjoyed it.
I like it too, so there you go.
From Jessica Jones to the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame.
We always like our tangents.
Wow.
We do digress, but it's fun.
So here's the final, of course, the quintessential question: would you recommend Jessica Jones to others?
No.
Why or why not?
I would.
Why or why not, Nick?
Watch season 1. Don't watch season 2. If you're bored and have a weekend available where you're sick under a blanket, watch season 3.
I would say if you're not watching season 2, don't watch season 3. They're connected.
I would say watch the first season, and then I'd hand them a stack of comic books that feature the character and say, this is how it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
you could just skip season 2, but...
You can't. They're so intertwined.
I would have to be like, again, if it's someone who I know who's kind of into the same thing, and I would still caution them about it. I would just say, hey, if you want to complete it, but really you can watch season 1 as a standalone and be happy with it.
That's her.
absolutely.
Although even with season
Jessica Jones'
1,
Alias comic, literally, it's
Yeah.
her dealing with her trauma from Kilgrave, and then the series ended, and then she was just a side character. So, like, they completed what the intention behind her in the comic books was.
even with season 1, it does have the pitfall of Kilgrave getting killed at the end of it. It
Yeah.
takes
And
something
he's-
away from how
and he's
good that season was.
Very
He's a huge
prominent in
Avenger
the
villain
universe.
and
Yeah,
Daredevil villain.
like the purple, like he's supposed to be there. So that's why we were originally thinking, maybe he's just not dead somehow.
Well, he could have played a mind trick on her,
Yeah.
making her think she killed him,
Yeah.
so that he could
That's
go
my
underground.
theory.
That's what I would have preferred.
A big disappointment for season 3 is that knowing it is the last one, at least for a long time, that they didn't bring Kilgrave back in a definitive way.
I would recommend it if you're a completionist. That's where I would recommend it.
I'd recommend the universe and say, if you want to watch season 3 of Jessica Jones, Trish kills Jessica Jones' mom. Skip season 2.
Oh, and she tries to become a superhero through a surgical procedure.
But they, I mean,
That's
you,
all you
They basically
you get
ties,
that in
yeah,
season
it's
3.
like they literally
Malcolm
start off
says
with
you're an
that.
addict.
She's in the thing. She's got open wounds. Like she basically says that's what happened to her.
I wouldn't recommend Jessica Jones by itself.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend it as part of the universe and the Defenders. And if you want to know more past where the chronology in the story is past the Defenders crossover, then you get Daredevil season 3 is after that chronologically. If you want to keep going with all of them, they all have an extra season. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well.
But season 2 and 3 of Jessica Jones don't really help the universe either.
No, they don't.
don't.
They don't tie in.
Let's
That's why I
No.
said if you're a completionist.
I mean, they make, like I said, they make a few little references. I think there was another blippy reference about Captain America again in this season. There was a couple in the second season, but none of us remember a lot about it because they just weren't that good. But there were references to the overall MCU.
Or
It's
And
still
to the
part
other
of it,
Defenders.
but you could
Yeah.
also probably quick YouTube it, like Jessica Jones reference. You know what I'm saying? I still probably wouldn't watch it all the way through or recommend it.
anything else you want to say about Jessica Jones season 3 or really any of the Defenders properties, it's your final episode as the Marvel's Defenders panel.
It's been a good run, but I
Yeah.
think we're done.
Yeah, I think we've talked.
You rhyme. It's been a good run, but I think we're done. That was your rhyme.
I didn't do that.
Kylie had a little dance move there for the listeners who don't know what's going on.
And then she made a
And
list.
she liked it.
And I liked it. And since I liked it, I'd have to thank Spencer, Nick, Kyle, Hillary, and Kristen for joining us on the adventures that is the Marvel's Defenders panel. And because we finished this adventure, it's now time for the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe at our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, the Defenders series, all of them are only available on Netflix because that is the network who made them and who doesn't give us free subscriptions. I know you're listening, Netflix. Our coverage of these series has now concluded. At least for now, though I wouldn't be surprised if any or all of them cropped up in other discussions from time to time. If you have nominations for shows we should cover on our podcast, contact us via social media or our email. You can volunteer to be a panelist too. In the meantime, and until next time, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned!